Welcome to the Fiscal Fortress. Michelle.meiming, a distinguished lawyer, and Eric.chung, a veteran hedge fund manager, deliver insightful commentary on finance and the law and actionable advice. The Fiscal Fortress, where wealth meets wisdom.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle. I am an experienced trust, real estate, and business lawyer. This is the first episode of our series, The Fiscal Fortress, where we talk about all things related to defending your wealth. Eric, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Happy to. Thanks, Michelle. I'm also a former lawyer, but now I'm a hedge fund manager, investment advisor, and entrepreneur. Michelle and I have been friends for many years, and we wanted to create the show to share our knowledge about fiscal matters, one of the most important topics for everyone. And this is personally a topic I care deeply about because I just remember when I was a young lawyer how hard I had to work to save enough money to buy my first home and to save for retirement. Michelle, how about you? Why are you doing this series?
Well, I love working with families. I used to be a former corporate lawyer, but now I get to meet families every day and help them and make a direct impact. Most of my clients are within the San Francisco Bay Area, but I also have clients who are living abroad. I do speak English, Cantonese, and Mandarin. Eric, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself too?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you about how I got into investing and also a fun fact if that's interesting to folks. My background, as I mentioned, I used to be a lawyer, but I became very passionate about stocks about 20 years ago after reading a book by Peter Lynch, the famous hedge fund manager. I also very much revered Charlie Munger, who was a former lawyer and Warren Buffett's partner. Sadly, Charlie Munger passed away last year, but I wanted to follow in Charlie's footsteps. So 10 years ago, I started my own hedge fund where I specialized in growth stocks. In terms of a fun fact that I want to share, this is interesting. Like about 2 months ago, I taught my 13-year-old son how to drive. We did this in a safe way. We went to an off-road park and basically in a big open field where we have like this off-road camper van. So that was something that left a permanent smile on his face. Michelle, is there a fun fact that you'd like to share?
I guess, after playing a serious instrument as the piano for many years, I am now learning how to play the ukulele, and it's a great way to just have fun.
I learned to play the ukulele as well, so I'm not sure what that says about us.
I'm also relearning how to play golf. It's been a long time, but I think, it's always a good idea to get out of the office, away from our screens, and just get it moving. And so playing golf has been fun as well.
Yeah, I learned to play golf back when I was a law student, but it didn't stick. I think I should probably get back into it.
You should come out with us.
Yeah. And speaking of new things and learning, this show, The Fiscal Fortress, is all about that. And this is our inaugural episode. During the show, we're going to be talking about all things legal and financial. And I want to kick things off by turning it over to Michelle. I understand, Michelle, that you have a story about some big problems that happened with a family when a parent died.
That is true. Oftentimes, it's usually the family dynamics arise when one spouse or both parents have passed away, and a lot of the childhood issues do resurface, and it's always sad when a family falls apart because of money.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more. What are the details of this story?
Sure, I'll change the names for the sake of protecting the privacy of the people involved, but we'll call this wealthy client that comes into my office as Jeff. Jeff is a very successful business person. He just survived a heart attack, and so he is in a second marriage. His second wife is a stay-at-home mom and is worried that with two children under the age of 18, she wanted to make sure that he had the legal documents in place in case he isn't there to provide for them. And so in this case, Jeff was, unfortunately, he took the solution into his own hands ultimately and decided to draft his own trust after having spoken with them, and he just decided, to buy a trust and will maker from a retail store and gave each of his three children a 1/3 interest.
Well, on its surface, 1/3 for each of his three children sounds reasonable.
It could be reasonable, except in this family, the first child was much older than the second and third children, and as a result, he had already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in private school education, boarding school, private college, and then medical school, while the second and third children were much younger than him and still in elementary and middle school when he had drafted the trust.
I'm actually in a similar situation. My first son is 13 from a previous relationship. My second son is 3 from my current wife.
Well, blended families are very common. The only problem is that there really is no cookie cutter template that should be applied for blended families, and so, or for any family that's still together, because children are all different. Their aspirations and how much higher education they pursue varies, and so in this case, by relying on an oversimplified legal document, Jeff wound up being very unfair to his second and third children, because by the time he passed away, his first son was already making hundreds of thousands of dollars as a physician, whereas the second and third were still in high school. And so the second wife thought it was very unfair, consulted a lawyer. The lawyer said, unfortunately, in order to challenge the validity of the document, there is a no contest provision, which would jeopardize her 2/3 interest for her children if she was unsuccessful. So in the end, she stayed with that document, even though it caused a lot of conflict and heartbreak for the second wife and the children, who got easily $2-3 million less because of that supposed equal distribution.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that it could get this complicated. And I suspect that most people don't think about these nuances. Just for the audience, could you sum up the key takeaways from this story?
Sure. If I could give, three takeaways, the first would be that families are always more complicated than they appear on the surface, especially when parents pass away. The second is that the inexpensive do-it-yourself trust will almost always cost a family more in the long run. And therefore, it's the third would be, don't be penny wise and pound foolish.
Great takeaways, Michelle. Really appreciate that summary. And thanks everybody for listening and watching our first episode. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about whether Tesla is a safe investment. Michelle will also be sharing a horror story about a family who prepared only a will for their estate planning. Thanks again for watching.
Thanks for listening.